Good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode one. A little bit of everything today because I didn't have a topic, but I had several topics, but they're all kind of so. Just gonna be some hobby potpourri, some baseball card potpourri today. Jenny, what's up? Good morning. Excited for today's episode. Zach is with us. Good morning to you. Jenny says, I'm working on shipping and trying to figure out why a PR label on standard envelope refuses to print. First one I've had to do this. I'm assuming PR stands for Puerto Rico. Now, I've actually, Brad, Texas Card Dude, brought this up. He tweeted something out that Puerto Rico, he hasn't had any Puerto Rico or most of them have not worked with standard envelope. I have about a 50% success rate with Puerto Rico. For some reason, some zip codes accept in Puerto Rico accept the standard envelope and others don't. And I have about a 50% success rate with Puerto Rico using standard envelope. So what I have to do, I actually bought stamps. I bought like 20 or 30 stamps um, for that reason because I was having I actually ship a lot of cards to Puerto Rico. And it's kind of a mishmash. It's mostly basketball, but I also send some wrestling cards to Puerto Rico. And then some random, I'll get a lot of like Puerto Rican born players, like especially from like the 70s, some singles of Caribbean players, whether it be Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. But yeah, I have about a 50% success rate on standard envelope. I might have one today. It'll be interesting. It's like rolling dice. It's a total crapshoot on whether it will work or not, and I don't know why. Mine's for an Ivan Rodriguez Diamond Kings. Yeah, so it's sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So my advice, if it doesn't work, just put a stamp on it. That's it's yeah, I don't know why that is. Uncle Rich with us. Good morning to you. Dan, good evening to you. Herman, good morning. By the way, awesome to see Herman and Ken back on Monday night last night. Glad to have you guys back. Enjoyed watching the show while I did some shipping myself. So I had a few things to touch on today. Madison Card Show has an official card show sponsor. My wife. So infusion later today. So here for the chat. Good luck with that. So I'd been thinking I need some signs. I need some signs. So the venue that we host the Madison Card Show, there's basically two main entrances, I guess you could say. It's the room is main ballroom is about 5,300 square feet rectangle. And then there's doors on each side, so it's long. So entrance here, there's an entrance here, call it north and south. And then we have the hallway that spans, that the length of the room. Most people, when they we're on the second floor, most people you walk into the main front entrance of the Sheraton Hotel, and just to the right as you walk in, near the front desk, there's a stairwell that takes you up, and we have signs saying it card show up there. But there's also elevators, so if you can't do stairs, there's two banks of elevators, one on each side. It's long, so there's one on each side. So when you walk up the stairs, you like the good thing about being a hallway vendor is you're the first, like, people have to walk by you. It's not like you're tucked away from the main room where people go into the main room and they may not know you're there. So they know you're there because they come up on you before the main room. That's a good thing. By the way, I actually had one of my hallway vendors reached out, and he's like, hey, he was checking dates. He's like, hey, I can do the February show. And he's like, can I ask a favor? And as soon as he said that, I'm like, oh man, he's going to want a spot in the main room, and I just don't have any room. I think I'm actually oversold at this point until I get verification on additional tables for February. And then he goes, can I get a hallway spot again? And I'm like, and this is great. I've got people actually. I was afraid to put people in the hallway out of fear of, the main room gets all the action, but apparently that wasn't the case. And I did some sweeps throughout the day, and it always seemed they were always busy. Like there was always people in the hallway, and the dealers were always busy every point during the day that I went out there. So that's awesome. So what I wanted was, so I made kind of a homemade sign on a post board, basically directing like dealer tables with an arrow pointing straight ahead for the main room and then to the left of the hallway. And I put that out, where the steps, and that's where the most traffic comes in, either that bank of elevators or the steps leading in from the main entrance. I'm like, I want it a little more professional. I should call up I have a local print shop that does my 1 million Cubs business cards. They did my Cubs cardometer. So I'm like, I should do some entrance signs just to give it a little more professional look. Welcome to the Madison Card Show. It's like, and I also need to promote myself, promote the Cubs project a little more. And I was thinking about this, and I'm like, wait a second. I know a way that I can do this without actually having to pay for it. What if I get a sponsor? Hey, my wife's in real estate, and she's mentioned like, oh, you should take my business cards and drop my business cards around. It's like, hey, what do you think of sponsoring the card show, and do a welcome sign? We'll do two on each side, and then have your information. So she was gung-ho, and she's like the design, like turned me on to Canva, and she helps me with some of my designs. So she was all about it, went to work on it, printed some, I think on Vistaprint actually. She had them, the easels were much cheaper on Amazon. And so I'm like, if you go to Office Max, they're going to be expensive, because I bought the easel that I bought for the card show purposes. I bought it Office Max, and it's just, I hate Office Max. It's so overpriced. But sometimes if you really need it's good it's good in a pinch. So my wife got those. So hopefully in the next few days, they'll definitely be here by the next card show, which is February 26th. So Madison Card Show, Sheraton Hotel. I'm booked on tables. In fact, I think I'm overbooked. Just waiting on a couple confirmations, and I've got to hear back from the venue on, hey, how many like you said 7 in the hallway, but I know we can get more. And still, not be a fire hazard. So hopefully we can get it. I'm pushing. I had 72 tables set up because I added one day of, and there goes that Office Max sponsorship, right? So 72, and I know we can get like 6 more in. So 78, maybe 80, but we'll see. So yeah, Lessing Real Estate, official sponsor of the Madison Card Show. I'm going to go back to the chat because I missed a lot. Jenny says, so what is a sponsorship really? So basically, I mean, it can be this particular sponsorship. It's my wife, and she can write it off as a business expense for, and then nothing comes out of my business account, and I get signage. That's basically what it is. And that deal only goes to her, my wife, and it benefits me. But if I had a random business want to sponsor it, then there would be cash or trade involved. So when I was in radio, I ran I did online broadcasting as basically my hobby. It was well, I shouldn't say that, because I ran it as a business, but I just didn't make any money doing it. So I had some trade out sponsorships with a printing company, and they did some car magnets for me with my website logo and all that. So I slapped that on the side of my SUV. Um, they some of the back in the early days of the dry wick, Under Armour type shirts. They did a couple of those for me with my logo. Banners, like the vinyl banners that you hang over for local radio. So it can be a trade out. It can be, um, cash. Hey, $1,000 to sponsor the show, and you get signage, you get business cards. You're mentioned in all the advertisements, etc. So the sponsorships can vary on what it is, but my sponsorship, it's basically this sponsorship is a trade out, and it's my wife, so it benefits me. It benefits us. Just to use, hey, you know, could be up to 1,000 people walking through, and vendors know me. They're like, oh, hey, who's, I'm looking for a house. I'm like, well, that's my wife. So there's that personal connection. It's not just a random, realtor. So what's up, Jeremy? Good morning to you. Let's see. Herman says that's a good problem to have. Zach says, was this all a ploy to get your wife to sponsor your Cubs sandwich board? So yeah, there you go. It wasn't my Cubs sandwich board, but it was the the entry signs. It was like, hey, I need entry signs. Hey, let's do this. I admire the long-term strategy and effort. Some may prefer hallway as it's more away from others with the pandemic or general anxiety. That's a good point too. I kind of like, I don't really like crowds. I like my crowds at the Madison Card Show, but if I'm at the National, like I'll walk away from like, especially like dollar boxes. I'll just kind of walk if there's a huge crowd. It's like I'm not doing it. I just and that's just more social anxiety than it is pandemic. I just hate crowds of people. Um, but it's like my card show, so it's a little different. I love the big crowds at the Madison Card Show, but when I'm the National, it's like there's one exception at the National, the dollar boxes at Singles Club. I'm there. Me and Uncle Rich, we were hanging out at the Dollar Club with the Singles Club dollar boxes. Dr. Beckett was in there. Who else was? We had Mike Summer in there. I think Stale Gum, Chris was in there. We had a whole bunch of us in there digging through the dollar boxes. Ed, good morning to you. Sorry I missed you guys last night. Herman, let's see. I'm going to go back up here. Herman says the Spartanburg show had a side room with 6 of the 110 tables, and it was busy as the rest. That's what I saw in my show. There were always people out there. It was busy. Rich did quite well in the side room. She's officially in the baseball card hobby. DR, what's up? Good morning to you. Talking about Office Max. Jenny, do they have a second room somewhere? Yes, they do. Unfortunately, this is I don't want to do it because they have 3 ballrooms. So I'm in the main. So the Madison Card Show is in the main ballroom, 5,300 square feet on the second floor. They have 2 other banquet rooms that are smaller. I think the largest of the other 2 is about half the size, is around 2,500 square feet, and then the other one's maybe 2,000 square feet. But they're not even. So I'm going to try to explain. So you walk in the main front door. You immediately take a right up the steps, and that takes you, the entire second floor essentially is the card show. So it's easy to see. Even if you look up, you can see like the hallway. Then the other 2 banquet rooms are on the first floor, on the main floor. So you have to go back, and the one is actually like a side entrance. It's just too cut up for me, and I mean, I could utilize that space. It would be additional cost for me. Obviously, more money, more income with tape space, but it's just too broken up. It's just too broken up. If it was broken up on the same floor, like I'm not opposed to broken up card shows. Like Creek, great card show. It's broken up into 4 rooms, but they're all like interconnected. Like the way it's set up, it wouldn't be, and you just kind of have to see the layout. Um, it's not only are the main floor banquet rooms, they're separated and they're separated on each side and they're at the back of the hotel. And then you have the main room. It's just I'm not there. And if I had a waiting list of like 50 tables, then I'd maybe consider it. But my waiting list right now is just, a handful. Usually this past show, I had a waiting list of about 5, but as people bowed out, the week of, I was able to fill it. And I think I only had 1 or 2 left on the waiting list. But I also have some regular vendors who have now added tables. So that waiting list is probably going to grow. So it's something that I have, like, I've tossed it around in my head. I don't like that idea. It's just too broken up for me. Um, at what point might you become the biggest card show in Wisconsin? Uh, Probably at no point, because I just don't have the space. I like my space. They give me a great price. They're amazing to work with. Um, you know, I think I can push it to 80 tables, and that's good. Track for the whole year. So this is another thing that is it's good, and like, I'm under contract, so those dates, those are solid. But I'm under contract, so it's like if you outgrow it, I would have to like do a second date in a month at a different venue. And there's also cost. Like, there's an additional cost, and I'm not quite at the point where I would be willing to rent out a huge space, because I just don't know if the Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. And I've learned that with the Sheraton, but I'm just hesitant. Would there be demand for and I know there would be demand for a 100-table show. Oak Creek has, I think, 104 tables. But I'm not doing this to be the biggest card show, the best card show. And I'm just doing it because I felt a need in this market for a good card show. And the main goal is to make it a great show for all involved, for the vendors and for the customers. And we're at that point. We're at the point where it's like there's a lot of people in here, and now I'm starting to get. I never would have thought back in April and May, when we're trying to, we're just working our butts off trying to find vendors, and there's so much space, and I've got like basically waiting rooms in the main ballroom for, kids get bored, wives, girlfriends get bored, and they're sitting off on the side. And now it's like there's table spaces there, and it's getting crowded. Um, so it's difficult, and venues to rent are expensive. And when you start crunching the numbers, it's, is it feasible? And it's kind of tough. So I basically maxed out like 70. I had 72 tables set up in January, and I think I can push it to 78, maybe even 80, but 80 is basically the top, unless I would go downstairs and open those rooms. And then and then it becomes, to me, like a law of diminishing returns. Maybe it's worth a shot. Maybe if I have a long waiting list, and if one of those rooms is open for one of my dates, I can reach out and say, hey, can I add this? But I just don't know if I want to do that. It's I battled that same question with the hallway. Do I open the hallway? And I did, and it was a success. So maybe it would be a success opening up another room downstairs. That 70s card show says, I remember hotel shows in the early 80s that the overflow tables snaked into the indoor pool area. Let's see. Where am I at? Oh man, I missed a lot. Okay. Jenny says, I need to get business cards to hand out at the local shows here. So many say, oh, Madison isn't too far. There you go. I can send that. I think I printed like 10,000 of these, and it's got the schedule and all the information. So I can send you some business cards to pass out. If anybody else, let me know if you want some Madison Card Show business cards. I put these in all my Midwest eBay packages. So basically, if I send anything to Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Iowa, Minnesota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Missouri, I put the Madison Card Show business card in there. So if anybody wants them to, if you're at card shows and want to pass them out, I can send you some. Zach, wow, enjoy the free chlorine aroma on the house. So the cost is keep your baseball cards out of the kitchen. Yep, that's how it is. Very humid. Oh yeah, the cards were sweating. Not good. Jeremy says random, but I'm already stressed about my March Madness bracket. Right? The funny thing is I worked in college basketball for 3 years in with a Division I team, Western Illinois, low major, but Division I. And we played Michigan, we played Minnesota, Nebraska. Who else? We played some of the big universities. Almost beat Michigan. That's when they had Tim Hardaway Jr. And that was like I think that was my second game with the team. How's that for an introduction? But Tim Hardaway Sr. was sitting right behind me. I interviewed John Beeline in the Michigan locker room, which the Michigan locker room's freaking awesome. And I walk in, and it was most times, and I worked in media for 15 years, 12 years, 12, 13 years. And I never really had like a pinch me moment. Like it was always part of the job. And I, interviewed a lot of pro athletes, and it was just a job. But I had I need to pinch myself moment when I walked into the Michigan locker room, and I walked in with Tim McCormick, the 7-footer, former Atlanta Hawk, former Wolverine. He was doing the broadcast for ESPN. So, he's part of the media. It was just me, Tim, and I think one other ESPN guy. I don't not a famous guy. So we walk in, and I'm like, here I am walking with Tim McCormick, staring up at 7-foot Tim McCormick, going in to talk to John Beeline in the Michigan Wolverines locker room. And as we open the door, it's like Shangri-La of locker rooms. It's like Oz. And there's Tim Hardaway Jr. walking by. Hey, what's up, guys? And I think Trey Burke was on that team. And it's just like, that was one moment in my broadcast career where it was like, I can't believe I'm here. And then we almost beat them. Like, that would have been one of the biggest upsets in college basketball that season. So going back to Jeremy's comment about the March Madness bracket. So when you work in college athletics, you cannot participate in brackets for any type of profit, for any prizes. You can fill them out for fun, but there cannot be created, or it's an NCAA violation. So for 3 years, I couldn't fill out, I couldn't throw $1 into a pool for a March Madness bracket. But a coach friend, high school coach friend, always ran a just for fun, a bragging rights bracket. And so I would participate in those. And I'm working in college basketball. Like, this is like my job is covering college basketball. I'm on the road with the team, and I'm seeing these in person throughout the season. And I finished the first 2 years, I finished dead last in this bragging rights bracket, dead last. And I think the final year, I think I was somewhere in the middle, but consuming college basketball all season. And that's a detriment to filling out a bracket, because you overthink it. And, a lot of March Madness, the results, it seems, is pure emotion. It's just that's what makes the tournament madness. And it's, sometimes it's all chalk, and it's like maybe I should just go all chalk. But then you miss the fun of the upsets, and you can brag to your friends like, "Oh, I had that 14 beating a 3, or I had that 15 over a 2, where only 2% of America did." So I love March Madness. I don't work in an office now, so it's I think last year I was working from home at this time, March last year, um, and it was just my wife and I. It's like the loser has to buy dinner. Well, it's all coming out of the same pot, so it really doesn't, it's not really a big prize. But it's basically a bragging rights deal. So I'm excited for March Madness. I always it's been one of my favorite. The very first tournament that I remember, I was in, I think, second or third grade. I was homesick from school, and I had no idea what March Madness was, what the NCAA tournament was. But what I did know, and I grew up, I didn't have cable. Like cable very early on. Mom still lives there. No cable, and so I like lived my entire childhood without cable. So I had in Jeremy, you're probably familiar. I had 4, 6, 8, and 18. Those were the channels I had. And 4 was CBS, 6 NBC, 8 ABC, 18 was the Fox. And then of course PBS. So that's what I had. So there wasn't much to watch. If I'm home sick from school, I'm watching Matlock and In the Heat of the Night and Price is Right. Like those were my options. And then in freaking soap operas, all afternoon, until the cartoons came on Fox. So I remember second or third grade, I'm homesick from school in March, and turn the TV on. It's like, oh, I'm gonna watch Price is Right this morning, and oh my God, there's sports on. What is this craziness? And then I learned that this comes around once a year. So conveniently, I became sick throughout grade school and junior high. I became sick a lot around the second week in March, so I could stay home, and it was usually on Thursday or Friday, the second week in March, and it just happened to be when college basketball was being played on Channel 4 back in the day when the tournament was only on CBS. Now all the games are on, which is great, which I love. Zach says, one of the first jokes my dad told me, what does a bad hotel and a bad pair of pants have in common? No ballroom. Simple crash. What's up, Diego? Good morning to you. Zach says, I was buying pants at the time for a high school dance, so it was good comedic timing. I like it. Turkey Card says, I wish I lived closer. I would stop into the show. I'm not sure where you're at, but Madison, wait till the summer, because Madison, Wisconsin is beautiful in the summer. There's a lot to do. In fact, I was texting back and forth with Ryan from Breakout Cards yesterday. He had tweeted out about a concert tour that he wants to see, and he's like, I hope this lines up with a card show. And the April date, excuse me, the April date of my card show matches up with the show in Milwaukee of this particular band. And I'm like, hey, Madison is only my show's 90 minutes or less from the Aragon Ballroom in Milwaukee. So he'd already had a show booked. So then I'm like, so we're kind of talking music back and forth. And I checked my May show, which happens over Memorial Day weekend. So if you want to make a trip, this would be a good one. Madison, Wisconsin, May, for Bratfest. Okay, so Bratfest is right across the street from the Madison Card Show. It takes place in now it's not like a hop, skip, and a jump across the street like in your neighborhood. It's there's like a highway. There's the Sheraton parking lot and then a highway, and then like a massive parking lot for the Alliant Energy Center, and it takes place like over there. So it's not like it's just a quick, 30-second walk. It'll take you five. It might take you five. Yeah, it would take you 5 minutes to walk over there, but it's literally across the street. It's Bratfest. I actually saw Everclear perform at Bratfest a few years ago. So I looked. The bands really don't do much for me this year. Like the headliner on Saturday, if you're into country, Saturday's like their country day. So right after the card show, you can go have a brat or two and listen to Joe Nichols, which I actually like Joe. I'm not a big country fan, but I do enjoy the music of Joe Nichols. So Joe Nichols is playing Madison Broadfest on the Saturday. This is Memorial Day weekend. And then the Sunday is like Rock Day. Queensryche is playing on Sunday. Boba Flex and who's the other band? It's it's actually the other one that I'm not thinking of is Saving Abel, which I actually enjoy their music. So that's Memorial Day weekend. Bratfest, which is right across the street from the Madison Card Show. That Saturday, Joe Nichols playing, and then the day after is their Rock Day with Saving Abel, Queensryche, and who did I say? Boba Flex. And I think it's free admission. Or maybe it's like $5 or $10. It's soup. If there's admission fee to Bratfest, it's really cheap. They just want you to come in and buy brats, and that's what it is. Brats everywhere. And then let's see, there's and then Milwaukee Summerfest is a great. There's always big. They haven't released their acts yet, which is in end of June. They span it over 3 weekends now, June into July. So around 4th of July, like the week before, the week after, and the week of 4th of July. Let's see. So back to turkey carts. If you're, within driving distance of Madison, Wisconsin, that's a good, the May Memorial Day show. It's, there's other events going on. Madison is awesome this summer. We have lakes. Fun. DR says instead of the largest, you can be the coolest card show. There you go, which is subjective, but yeah. I own a card show in Wisconsin. Let's see. Where am I at? Johnny Boys Cards. What's up, Johnny? Mike is with us. Good morning, Mike. I'll see Mike this weekend. Oh man, I missed a lot of chat here. Let's see. Jenny says that I would recommend looking into school gyms if you looked at a different location. Church schools will give great deals as they operate without state revenue. That's a great idea. My buddies down in Rockford, they do it's a church gym. So that is a great idea. What's up, Mark? Good morning to you. Jeremy says, do you think you'll reach a point where you outgrow your SUV for transport purposes? Probably. Actually, here's my idea, and I've talked about it. I want an RV. And my wife is like eye rolls, but she's coming around to that idea because I'm planning my spring training trip for next month. And she's like, I'm surprised you're not, because now, like before, my trips revolved around, okay, I had to do a lot of math. Okay, I've got X amount of time off from work, so I can sandwich again, so I get a couple bonus days, and then I've got time for our trip in June or July, whatever. And so you have to be like strategic on the time off. And now it's like, well, I still have to be strategic because I can't just shut down my eBay store for 2 weeks. So I've got to be strategic in that sense, but I don't have to work around time off for the man. So my in previous times, it's like, well, I'm going, I've got to fly but what I'd love to do is rent an RV and drive down. And in fact, when I went down in 2020, right before the pandemic, it was like before a game and I'm on a berm. It was actually at the Rangers facility in Surprise, Arizona. I'm on the berm out in center field, and I'm scrolling through like Facebook Marketplace, and there's like this big truckload of cards, and it's like, oh man, I should rent a U-Haul and just drive back. So my wife this year, she's like, I'm surprised you're just not driving down there. And it's like, I would. And then not only would I have my own living spaces, but I would have storage so I could pick up a bunch of card collections. So that's kind of my And I'd love to have like 1 million Cubs project, on the side of the RV, get it all, baseball carded up. So that's kind of a dream. That's the dream that I have. It's always been like when my wife and I first met, it's like, what's your dream vacation? And it's like, my dream vacation is to get an RV and just drive around the country and go to baseball games. Like, what? Now to her, that sounds like a nightmare, but to me, that would be just drive around the country. Like, just take the summer off and just drive all over the country in an RV going to baseball games. And no particular, like, not, I don't want to hit every single ballpark. I don't want to, just the experience, because the most fun would be just the journey between games. The games, that's just kind of like, that's the ultimate, like a million Cubs. Like, once I hit a million, now what? But it's the journey to get there that's the most fun. So that's, that. So yes, will I outgrow my SUV for transport purposes? Most likely. And then I want to grow into an RV. But then there's like, I've got to learn how to like use it, the water, how does that work? Storage, because it's not like it's going to be my daily driver. So I've got to store it somewhere, and it's, then it's kind of like a chore. So we'll see. We'll see. I've got to sell ball card still to get my RV, and I'd buy a used and just have it tuned up. That 70s card show says weekend rentals are tough as you're competing with weddings and seminars. That's see why I wanted to book so far. I booked my 2022 dates in like November, because they actually, in this main ballroom, they have weddings. So, and they need those weekends. So it's like, I've got to act fast so I can secure the weekends I want. Otherwise I'm screwed. So that's why I and they're under contract. So it's like, boom, 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 we're done. So it can be, yeah, you're working against a lot of things, and the larger, the larger the space, the more competition for other events is going to be. Rich says, with eBay rules, are you allowed to do that? eBay is kind of strict on those subjects. Are you talking about the business cards? If you're talking about the business cards, yeah, there's no rules on that. In fact, I bet every package I get from an eBay seller has a business card of some sort. Now, I think what eBay doesn't want you to do is like, hey, contact me outside. In fact, I have one up here because I bought some supplies, and it was basically like, hey, they're cheaper on the website. Now, if eBay caught wind of doing that, that would probably be, yeah. So this, here's the perfect example of what eBay doesn't want you to do. I'm not going to out the person, but they have a website. They're not like a big name company, but they're a bigger seller. So it's got their website. It's a business card. They've got their website up top, and their message on the business card says, "Hi, we are able to sell all products and supplies for less through our own website without the selling fees of eBay." That's their opening line. And this was from an eBay transaction. So, Rich, this is probably a big time no, and a rule that, they don't want you. Now, my business card doesn't say anything about buying from me. It just has Madison Card Show. It's basically just an advertisement for my card show. I don't sell off eBay. In fact, if I post something on Twitter and they're like, hey, I want that, and I just direct them to my link on eBay, and we go through eBay. And I know there's a lot of people that don't, and they prefer to do off eBay. But when I'm sending stuff in my eBay packages, it's basically an advertisement for the 1 million. They can go to the website, and it just directs them back to my eBay store. And then the Madison Card Show. So I'm sure there are rules like what I just read here. We can sell for less, avoiding eBay fees, and that was sent with an eBay transaction. That's a no. But just advertising, random stuff, you can do that. That 70s card show, Jeff Wilson show up at your show with his camera crew and drones yet? I'm not there yet. 14 watching live. Awesome. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Thank you, Jenny. There's Mike. Good morning, Mike. Thanks for joining. Johnny Boys Cards. Good morning to you. Turkey Cards. As a Michigan fan, Wisconsin basketball fans has frustrated me through the years, beating Michigan. There you go. I was actually thinking about this over the weekend. I was watching Michigan Purdue, and a lot of people hate Michigan. Like, I'm a Big Ten fan. Like, I grew up in Illinois, but I grew up an Iowa fan because they were on TV. And then I moved to Madison, and it's hard to avoid, being a Badger fan living here. So now I'm a Wisconsin fan. But I wouldn't consider myself a fan of Iowa because, I'm a Wisconsin fan. Like, I can't be a fan of both within the same conference. So I root for Iowa when they're not playing Wisconsin. I find myself rooting now. I grew up hating Illinois, the University of Illinois. But now Brad Underwood, he coached as an assistant, and he's a great guy. I have to root for him. And I know a family friend of one of the players on Illinois. So I have to root for Illinois. I root for Michigan. I don't know why. I just kind of root for them. But then it's like, but I hate Ohio State, and I hate Penn State, and I hate Minnesota. So it's like half the Big Ten I'll like root for, but the other half I like Indiana, and that's my wife's alma mater. So I like Indiana, and I hate Purdue because that's what you do. If you're a Hoosier, you hate Purdue. So it's like I root for half the Big Ten, and I hate the other half. Jenny says, Turkey Cards, we had some guys from a very small town of Braham, Minnesota to Michigan. Can't recall their names. Real good guys. Rich says, way back in the day, we had no cable either. Of course, that was before most of the world had cable. Still the same local channel numbers today. 4, 6, and 8. Let's see. WHBF, Channel 4. KWQC, TV 6. And WQAD. I follow them on Facebook. And I'm only like two and a half hours away, so still semi-local. That 70s card show, yeah, sick days weren't so much fun for the antenna crowd. Yeah, a lot of Matlock watching. My most excitement in March is the high school girls basketball tournament for high school. Aragon Eagle Ballroom. Many times. Good times. I've never been over to Summerfest. It's one of those things where we talk about going every year, and then we just don't. Let's see. So yeah, I'm looking. It must have been the Eagle Ballroom, and Aragon was the next one, unless it was just a typo on the concert poster. But yeah. Anyway, back to the chat. Love brats. Brats are awesome. Mike says, great city, great show, worth the trip. Jeremy says, Summerfest being as cheap as it is remarkable. Jenny says, if you had an RV, you could take your eBay inventory along and do road card shows on your trip. That's I wouldn't take my eBay inventory because I don't take my eBay inventory to card shows. Just it's too, because my stuff's like low dollar, so it would be too difficult to to like cross check it and go back down. Yes, so I was John is so yeah, they play Aragon Ballroom on the 28th. They play the Rave Eagles Club in Milwaukee. So I was confusing the two. Let's see. But yeah, that's a great point. And I thought about, well, I could take my eBay, like some of my eBay inventory and my label printer, and then it's like that's a lot of like it would probably be more difficult to do that than just take a couple weeks off. Let's see. You can use a drill to put water in a holding tank with a hose. Come to Minnesota, I'll teach you all about camping on RVs. See, I've never like driven an RV. I don't think. So I don't know like the ins and the outs. Like I've camped. Um, I don't know if I've ever camped in an RV though. I've camped in trailers, but not in RV. Um, so I would have, you know, the water hookups, like how does the generator work? Um, my aunt and uncle, my uncle actually passed away um on a cross country RV trip. Um, got sick in my mom's driveway, went to the hospital and eventually passed away. But they were talking about because their grandson came out from they live in Oregon. They live in Oregon, the state, and so the grandson came out and had to drive back. And my aunt was talking about uh, like ho- when you park it, you have to like do something when you park, leveling or something. I don't know, but it's like, ooh, I didn't know that part of RVs. Maybe I should buy like a RV driving for dummies book. Dan says you didn't mention Northwestern. Cheer boo. Oh, I'm not a Northwestern fan. I'm a boo. I'm a boo on Northwestern. And actually, there's probably it's more like 65-35 on not like than like, because I don't like Nebraska. Maryland are that the Big Ten. So those are on the dislikes. Michigan State is kind of one of those wild cards. I don't really care one way or another, but I do tend to root for Michigan. I boo Penn State. I boo Ohio State. I boo Purdue. I like Indiana. I like Illinois. I like Iowa. I like Wisconsin. I boo Minnesota. I boo Nebraska, and I boo Northwestern. Let's see. That 70s card show. I put a sticker in the packages just to advertise the podcast. Yep, it's a great way. Um, especially if you're doing a lot of volume. What's up, Brian? Good morning to you. Jeremy's going to peace out. Have a great day. Herman's got to go to work. Have a great day. We're going on almost 50 minutes, so I'm going to go have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Awesome chat today. Fun to just do some random hodgepodge. Um, I'm just going to do some more shipping, some more listing. I did, by the way, the eBay store listed about 300 cards yesterday. A bunch of basketball. I think I'm going to continue basketball today. Just kind of get that taken care of, and then move on to either football or baseball. A lot of the Goodwill lower dollar stuff, and I've listed some of the Jordans as well. Jordans. There were a lot of Jordans in this Goodwill haul. So once I kind of get that cleaned up, I gotta clean up the room still. I've got to put my Rockford card show boxes in the car for the Saturday show. So some cleanup work to do as well. So have a great day, and we'll chat tomorrow.